Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. My name is Brendan Plays. A little bit late again this week for the podcast. Once again, apologize for that. It's becoming a little bit of a habit. It's a habit that I really don't want to have, and hopefully it's another one-off. But so today on Thursday, I had to do my assignments. So I spent all day Thursday doing that, and then on Friday morning, I had to present that. So normally if I had to do something on Thursday night, I would try and get the podcast done for Friday morning, because it would still be Thursday when I upload it over in the America and late UK. So I can normally get away with it. But early morning presentation, and then I spent the rest of the day doing chores and housework and things like that. So it was just a bit of a busy day. I just didn't really get around to doing the podcast, unfortunately. So it is Friday night right now for myself. In fact, I think it's actually Saturday morning, a very early morning, about midnight on Saturday. So yes, this is a very late edition of the podcast, but still, it's plenty of big topics to talk about this week, including SummerSlam, a big Raw and SmackDown, and NXT Takeover as well. We'll chat about that. A little bit of GFW stuff as well. Some things took place this week for them. So, yeah, a big week in wrestling, honestly. It was a really enjoyable week, and there's a lot of things to talk about, so we're not going to really mess around anymore. We're going to get straight into these topics. Okay, so we may as well start it off with SummerSlam. Now, obviously, a lot of things we're going to talk about on SummerSlam. We know some of the, conclusions or what happens next on Raw and SmackDown, so we might just kind of talk about a little bit about everything as we go, but we'll kick things off with SummerSlam, and I want to talk about the Fatal 4-Way before we get into anything else. So, overall, I thought SummerSlam was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I think there was probably 2 hours where I thought the show was pretty strong, and probably 2 hours where I thought it was weak, if not just okay. And then plus the pre-show had a couple of good matches on there too. Too long? Yeah, probably. It did feel a bit long, and look, I'm not against 4-hour pay-per-views. I'm not. It feels special. There's a lot you can get done, but I think the 2-hour pre-show to go along with it is a bit overkill. I think the pre-show concept kind of needs to go. If not, probably remove the matches off the pre-show. If not, just leave it at one. I think that concept really needs to kind of probably move away. I think the pre-game analysis is good, and I think if you want that content, I think producing that is good. But putting matches on there, let alone 3 matches on the pre-show, I think that's a concept and an idea that probably needs to be moved away from, especially for the big pay-per-views. Yeah, for WrestleMania, okay, but still, it just makes the show feel so long, 6-7 hours sometimes. For a pay-per-view is just nuts, and I couldn't imagine being in the crowd for that. It's a long, long time. Whenever I go to wrestling shows, I'm really starting to feel it after 2 hours. I'm really, I'm at that point where I'm good. I'm getting tired. I've been so energized throughout the show that once, that hour, probably 90-minute to 2 hour mark is when I'm starting to go, oh man, all right, thank God it's the main event. I can put one more match in, and then, let's go. I'm about ready to go after that. So, when people say, well, the crowd sucked, well, a lot of the times it's so hard to be invested for a 3-hour Raw. And plus, if you go for the pre-show, they've got main event tapings on Raw, and then the post-match, the dark match afterwards, or 205 Live for SmackDown's sake. They do too much wrestling in one night for a crowd to really handle. So there has to be points throughout a show where a crowd dies down and calms down a bit. Otherwise, they just, they'll be so tired they just won't have anything left for the big matches. So, yeah, so SummerSlam overall it was pretty good, but like I said, there was some points where it did feel like a bit of a lull. It felt as though it was just, a bit of filler at times, a few matches in between, some good stuff that was a bit of a drag, but a lot of people saying it was one of the worst pay-per-views of the year. I really don't see that. I can't really put my finger on that. I thought there's no way SummerSlam was as bad as Money in the Bank or Battleground, because there was a few matches in SummerSlam I really enjoyed. I thought the tag team match with Ambrose and Rollins and the Cesaro and Sheamus. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Big win for them. Ambrose and Rollins. I thought that was great. The pre-show tag match was great as well. I enjoyed that. And obviously the main event. I'm saying the main event's my favorite match of the year so far. To me, the main event is everything that I want in a World Championship match. Everything. It was just everything I hoped for. Obviously last week I came into SummerSlam on the podcast, and I said that I really want this match to be great because the build up towards it, the 4 guys involved, I couldn't be more invested in it if I wanted to be. I thought this match and the build, everything about it was just awesome. And I was just hoping they delivered. I was hoping that it wasn't going to be 10 minutes long with Lesnar getting a quick and easy victory. It was a 20-minute match. It had all the big hype, all the big feel about it, and it delivered right from the bell. It was just epic. Honestly, one of my favorite matches I've seen in a long time. I watched it again yesterday. I've seen it twice now, and I probably will watch it again in a month or two's time, or who knows, or maybe in a week's time. I don't know. It's one of those matches I will go back and watch again. And there's not many matches that I do that with. Only those real special ones that just catch my eye, and I just, I was glued. I stopped everything I was doing and just sat there and watched that match. Normally, when I watch a pay-per-view, when I watch SummerSlam and some other matches, I'm kind of, maybe looking around on my phone or kind of clicking around on Twitter, having a look around. But just glued. I just stopped what I was doing, watched this match right from the bell beginning until the end. There's nothing more I wanted to watch. It was just so great. And it just caught me in and just grabbed my attention. For the match itself, Braun Strowman quite clearly the star of the match. What he did to Lesnar was awesome. It was very surprising, something we haven't really seen before, Lesnar getting thrown around like that. And the interaction between the two was so good. And they did it so well that it's basically the build to it, what they did the match just makes me really want to see the next one so badly. And that's rare because normally you get an interaction and you're done with it. Okay, we've seen it now. But we've got a little bit of a tease. We saw what could have happened if Lesnar and Strowman was one-on-one. What would happen? Would Lesnar lose to Strowman? The only reason why Strowman lost is because, he was down from I think it was a spear, and Lesnar took advantage of an opportunity. Strowman didn't really lose the match. Yeah, he lost, but he didn't get pinned or anything like that. So the potential to do the rematch is there. Obviously, they're going to do it at No Mercy. We'll talk more about that in a moment's time, whether or not that's a good call. But that interaction was just so terrific, and the crowd was completely into it. They absolutely, ate it up. Reigns and Samoa Joe were really good as well. I thought Joe was probably the least featured out of the lot. I think Joe is just suffering a little bit from his finisher. It was a bit of a finisher fest for a while there. A lot of German suplexes, a lot of Superman punches, some spears, running power slams. A lot of their big moves was, compacted into this matchup. Joe with a completed clutch, yes, it is a good, finisher, but it's not a move that will take down someone and take him out of the match, for example. I think he is missing a muscle buster type move. I know they probably won't have him do that move anymore, but I think Joe needs to probably find another finisher that he can execute to take someone down in this type of environment. And yeah, they can probably kick out of, but it's a big move, and like a spear. Joe needs a big power move just to get him more involved, and certainly in this type of environment where there's so many guys in the match, a kick clutch doesn't really do it for Joe because Reigns hitting a spear, Lesnar with an F5, Strowman with a running power slam, and Joe with a submission hold. Yes, it's different, but Joe just kind of lacks a little bit compared to the others, I think. But other than that, I thought the match was just spot on, excellent. Lesnar did the stretcher spot where they stretched him out, but he came back. For a while there, I thought, okay, he might not actually come back. I think there was a big possibility, obviously, but you could have believed it. Get stretched out by Strowman, and he's gone. That's it. It would have been a really crazy way to end it, but Lesnar could have came back later on, and later on show as Strowman may be the champion. Strowman wins the belt, and then Lesnar comes back at in the Royal Rumble something that looks for redemption. Now that would have been crazy and something really big, but obviously that they don't want Lesnar to leave, and with that stipulation applied, it was pretty clear that Lesnar was going to retain because of that stipulation. But I think at the end of the day, Lesnar winning is probably a good call as well. I think he can, hasn't really had much opportunity, much time with the belt. He has had time, but he hasn't really had many appearances. So he's doing Great Balls of Fire, he's doing SummerSlam, doing No Mercy, so he's getting a few matches in now. Let's see where it goes, let's see what he does, and if he works Survivor Series as well, maybe that's the time that he drops the belt. I think a lot of people are saying he might hold to WrestleMania. I think that's a mistake. I think right now, when you've got 3 guys on Raw that can quite clearly hold that belt and run with it and be very successful with it, I think it'd be crazy to leave that belt on the sidelines. It's certainly for the ratings as well. Yes, it is SummerSlam time, and I think more people are more interested in SummerSlam, with Lesnar being back on the show and whatnot. But when you have some big matches that you've got with these 4 guys on the one show who are all killing it, you'd have to be crazy to leave one, obviously that big championship away from that group of guys. Yes, you take Lesnar out, and you got Strowman, Joe, and Reigns. You can have a lot of great matches between those 3 alone, and you add in a Seth Rollins, a Dean Ambrose, you put them in there. Maybe you add Jeff Hardy in the mix as well. You add some of those other names that you've got on Raw, and all of a sudden you've got a really, really good World Championship scene. To have Lesnar with the belt and not be involved in that, I think really takes away from Raw. And I think it's a big reason why Raw's been, I think, a much better show in the last couple of months, is because the World Championship is now being featured, and there's more of that big match feel. The Intercontinental Championship just doesn't do it, because The Miz was working the pre-show in a tag match that had 1,000 people in the crowd. I thought I was watching. Jeff Hardy thought he was back at a Global Force show. Thought he was back at TNA. That's how few people were in the crowd for that match. It was crazy. And so they couldn't even. There was no way that they could even get people. Get enough people just to fill up one side of the arena and not show the other side or anything like that. No, they didn't even bother. They just said, all right, screw it. We've got no one in the building. Forget it. So I guess we'll transition into some of the other matches on the show. And with that opener on the pre-show, should that have even happened? Should they even done a match there? Obviously, they had issues with getting people into the building. That's a strange call. I would never expect WWE to do a pre-show match with no one in the crowd. I think I would have just cancelled it. I just would have cancelled it and done something else. Maybe have someone cut a promo instead. Maybe The Miz comes out and cuts a promo that, he should be on the show, and then you can have someone else interact with him. But instead to do a match when there's no one in the crowd, it looks really bad. And especially, if I don't know where they broadcast the pre-show, that they still do it on YouTube and things like that. If I'm watching that pre-show, I'm not really convinced that I want to watch the full show, because it's not a real good representation of what SummerSlam's going to be. So if I only see that match, I'm thinking, wow, what the hell happened to SummerSlam? So, look, it is a strange call. It is a strange call, but it is not technically WWE's fault. I think they had issues with security and the event staff not letting people in. So, not WWE's fault, but it just looked really, really bad. The other pre-show matches, the Cruiserweight Championship match was good. Neville winning back the championship. I thought that was probably expected. A good call. I thought maybe they'd give it to Cesaro and let him hold it for a little while, maybe a month or so, and then give it back to Neville. But they're just acting like it was a bit of a fluke victory over Neville, which I don't mind. It does put Cesaro over and obviously does legitimize him as a good, strong opponent for Neville, and they can continue with that feud going forward. Now Enzo is on the brand as well. So that's interesting. But, I don't know. I thought maybe there was more there with Cesaro. They could have done something with that and gone off, play off that storyline that Neville is just distraught. He just can't cope with life without the championship. I thought they could have done something there and have him really show that aggressive side of him, and maybe he wins it back in the next pay-per-view. Disappointing, though, that they did relegate that to the pre-show. I thought it was a good match. I thought, the tag team match that followed up, I'm really surprised this was on the pre-show. The New Day and the Usos, a rivalry that's got a lot of airtime on SmackDown. Not exactly a match thrown together. They're 2 best teams right now in the company together, arguably their best two teams, but I think they're probably their best two teams. The best, at least, they could do on SmackDown. And they put that on the pre-show instead of a big cast, big show match that we've already seen a number of times that absolutely sucked. Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe Natalya and Naomi, to be fair, probably deserved a pre-show more. But, yeah, a really good match. And I'm not surprised. That match is what you open a pay-per-view with, not John Cena and Baron Corbin. Because you look at NXT Takeover, we'll talk about that later on, with Andrade and Johnny Gargano. That is a match that match personifies opener. A exciting match with two really good wrestlers in there, have a great working match that gets the crowd ready for more matches. It is a quintessential opening match. John Cena and Baron Corbin sucked the life out of the crowd before the show even began. It's terrible, and it's quite clear now that Baron Corbin is well on his way down the card. I thought that, yes, they have the cash-in loss, but they might have Corbin recover from then on. It doesn't seem to be the case. So Baron Corbin loses the Money in the Bank. He loses at SummerSlam quite easily to John Cena. And then the next week on SmackDown, he's more interested in being a referee than looking for redemption and trying to get, some justice for the distraction in his Money in the Bank. So that is, I'm not going to say buried. I think that's a bit too extreme to say right now. But it is a punishment for sure. Now, the rumor is that Baron Corbin is on his way down the card because, well, I take with this a grain of salt, but apparently John Cena believes that Corbin's not ready yet. And so because of that, the powers that be have decided, okay, if Cena thinks he's not ready yet, then he's not ready. And let's go with someone else. Which, to be honest, as a guy who does not like Baron Corbin at all, I really don't think he's ready either. I agree with Cena. I don't think Corbin is ready. I don't think he's good enough. And I think SummerSlam was a bit of a test for him in a way. And I think he failed. I think John Cena couldn't have a good match with Corbin. And some would say, oh, no surprise there. But I thought they might be able to do something. I thought it was a real risk to put this match as an opener. Personally, I probably would have done AJ Styles and Kevin Owens as an opener. I think that would have been decent enough with Shane McMahon involved as well. Maybe, actually, I think that would have been good. Even with the finish that they did and everything like that, I think that would have been a fine opening match. But Cena and Corbin, really not. A rivalry that's been put together in the last week or so, just thrown together, nothing there. Really bad opening call and a poor match, not good. And Baron Corbin looks to be well on his way down the card. Look, if he goes in feuds with AJ for the US Championship, I think that's a good call. I think Corbin holding a mid-card championship is where he should be right now. I don't think he's ready to be a world champion. Mind you, I don't think Jinder's good enough to be world champion, but Jinder's doing the best he can, to be fair to the guy. But Baron Corbin, if I had the choice, I would definitely be sending him down into the mid-card, working with some other guys, learning from AJ Styles and developing his character a little bit more. And because his promos just sound so forced, any aggression that he does just feels forced. It's not natural, it's not organic. It's just, I just don't think he has it. I really don't. I think if he wasn't 6'5", then he'd be in some big trouble. But we'll see how he goes. I think with what they've done with SmackDown this week, I think is a good call, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But certainly Corbin, I'm not going to be missing him in the World Championship picture. I don't think he should be there. And him losing Money in the Bank sucks for him, but he has to get better. I think this is a real test for him. Can he lift himself up? Because for the most part, he's been heavily pushed. They've given him the ball. They've given him everything they possibly could do. They've changed his theme music recently. They're tweaking a lot of things to try and get the guy over, and it's just not working. I just don't think he's good enough. So they've tried, to be fair, but he's just not delivering. So this is a chance for him to go away and get better. Well, not go away, but not have as much of a spotlight or a focus on him. Because if he's Money in the Bank holder, if he's world champion, everyone is looking at him. All eyes are on him. But if he is just simply in the mid-card feuding with AJ, doing, or maybe just a mid-card feud without the championship involved, there's not much pressure on him. There's not as much pressure on him. There's not as much spotlight. He can just keep going. Yes, he might not be, in the World Championship mix and might not be getting the big accolades towards his career, but I think it could really benefit from him, for his sake, just to be away from the spotlight and just keep on going, beat some guys in the mid-card, and just keep developing that way. And as I said a little bit earlier, the show fell away a little bit throughout the I think the first couple of hours was a bit poor, then kind of picked up towards the end. I'm not going to go into every match. I thought Sasha winning the Women's Championship was an interesting call. Same likewise with the Usos winning the tag belts back. I thought that was an interesting call. Natalya winning the Women's Championship had to happen. I think that really did need to happen. I think that was a good call. Now it opens up with a few new rivalries for Natalya to go with. So that was a good call. Rusev and Randy was a weird one, but we'll see how it goes. I think, as the rumor has said, they've kind of done that as a way to build towards the future between those two, which I think is good. I think there's a little bit more there between the two. I think Rusev and Randy can be a solid pay-per-view matchup down the line. Certainly, I don't know what SmackDown's next pay-per-view is. Is it Hell in a Cell? Maybe. I thought No Mercy would be SmackDown's, but they've changed it. So they've changed a lot of them around, so I'm not 100% sure. But, so give them a 10-15 minute pay-per-view match. I think they could certainly deliver. It's a shame that they only got 1 minute, or not even that, but definitely given some time, they could have a good matchup. Last thing on SummerSlam, Jinder Mahal and Nakamura. Not the best match between the two, but Jinder is still champion. I'm surprised. I thought maybe they were going to go with Nakamura, but Jinder, with the distraction with the victory, seems to be his usual mode of victory at this point in time. Look, I think Nakamura being champion probably is a little bit too soon. So having Nakamura still chase the championship is a good call. I think at the end of the day, I think I would be giving the belt to Nakamura. But look, it's quite possible now with Bobby Roode on SmackDown that they're going to change plans. They might go with Bobby Roode instead of Nakamura. It's quite possible. But I think Nakamura's done well for himself. His reactions have been pretty good coming out to the ring. People love the theme song, obviously. So he is getting a reaction. He is gaining popularity. But he hasn't had the great epic matches that we're looking for yet. But do I blame Nakamura for that? I don't think so. I think it's been just the poor matchups, poor opponents. He hasn't really worked with a strong opponent yet that can deliver him a good match. His John Cena match was probably his best one so far, and that was fine. And there's definitely more there to be had. But working with Ziggler, they just didn't have good chemistry. They just didn't really mix well. Baron Corbin, clearly not a good opponent for him, and Jinder not so much either. So Nakamura has just kind of been a little bit hindered right now with a lack of a strong opponent. But the thing is, I don't really know where you go with it or who you put him against, because SmackDown, besides Kevin Owens, doesn't really have a good heel opponent for Jinder to come up against at this point in time that can give him that good matchup that I think people want to see. Because I think until Nakamura has that standout match that everyone says, wow, that was great, I think that's when he has that, I think that'll be his breakout moment. But until then, I think fans are expecting that from him and haven't seen that yet. So the disappointment has been there. And yes, he can have the great entrance. He can, we have the knowledge and expectation that he is a great wrestler. But without a strong promo to back it up, you can't really connect with him in that way. The best way to connect with him is in the ring, and we haven't quite seen that yet from him. And the Jinder match was not good. It was just okay. And until I think we get that standout performance, that's when I think Nakamura will, stand out. But for right now, I think he's going to be coasting along, doing fine and slowly getting bigger reactions. But if he comes out and has a kick-ass match with somebody, I think that'll put Nakamura truly on the map. And we're just waiting for that. But we'll move along a little bit there. Overall, like I said, SummerSlam, pretty good. What would I give it? I think probably a 7. The main event was my favorite match of the year. I think Meltzer gave it a 4.75 star rating, which is pretty damn good. Close to 5 star. I don't think it's a 5-star match. I don't think so, but it was pretty damn close. It was a freaking great match. I loved it, and I've already seen it twice, as I said. I would love to probably go back and watch it again. Look, it was just epic. Epic match. Everything, like I said, everything I could possibly want in a wrestling match. Star power, big spot moments, believable characters just beating each other up. Everything. It was a classic main event match, and that is a match that I'll be thinking about in years to come and saying, yeah, that was great. And I don't get many of those matches. There's not many matches where that sticks in my mind and say, man, that was good. I think the last one I can really kind of remember might be Lesnar and Taker, Hell in a Cell match, which I rewatched not long ago and thought, wow, that was so good. And this one might, definitely will join that list. Okay, so we'll move along to Monday Night Raw, and they started things off with Strowman and Lesnar. So they've announced that they're going to be doing Lesnar and Strowman at No Mercy. Look, Strowman coming out, don't talk, comes out, just gets in there and starts beating up Lesnar. Look, Strowman, his reactions at SummerSlam were excellent, and despite a loss, Braun Strowman's star power has just gone way up. I think people will love to see this match, and I'm so glad it's happening. The question is it good to do it at No Mercy, or is it good to do it at Survivor Series? The thing is, with the WWE Network, pay-per-views don't really matter which pay-per-view it happens, and I think WWE realized that as well. Doing Lesnar and Joe at Great Balls of Fire, for example. It's a big money match, but they don't really care what pay-per-view happens as long as it is a pay-per-view. It doesn't really bother them which one. Obviously, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, they're going to save that. And maybe Survivor Series to a lesser extent. They're going to save big matches for those shows, but they're not opposed to doing big matches on their other shows as well. And that's not a bad thing. I think these other pay-per-views, whilst they aren't your big 4 headline shows, you still want to see big matches on those shows. And sometimes I wouldn't be giving away my big, potentially WrestleMania match on it. But yeah, it is maybe a little bit too soon, but from what happened at SummerSlam, you kind of have to do this match. Who else deserves to get a shot at the title? Nobody. Strowman manhandled Lesnar like no one else. If Strowman did not get a title shot, it would just be strange. I think fans would be in a bit of an uproar, so it kind of has to happen. If you drag it out to Survivor Series, that's in November? So that's a couple of months away. That's still a long time away, so you probably couldn't drag that out. And if you dragged it out, I think people would probably complain even more that Lesnar's not competing or defending the championship. So, No Mercy it is, and I think it's going to be great. I don't know what the hell's going to happen in it. Will Strowman win the belt? If he did, I would not be against it. I think the only guy at this point that should beat Brock Lesnar is probably Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman deserves it, man. He is killing it. He's improved so much in the ring. He's now getting reactions. People are chanting his name, which, yes, he's a heel. Not necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily a good thing, but heels are different in 2017. People cheer heels. People will boo baby faces. People do whatever. If people like you, no matter what you heel or baby face, that's a good thing. I think the kind of, all right, let's boo the bad guy thing is kind of out of the question. Yes, people still boo the bad guys, but people cheering the bad guys is not as bad as it perhaps used to be back in the day. I don't know. It's a weird one to kind of explain, but Strowman getting cheered, I think it's just people respecting him and appreciating what he's doing, and I think that's a good thing. I think Braun Strowman, I don't know if he's the superstar of the year, but I tell you what, he's got to be close. The first half of the year was a little bit weak for him, but he has really started to pick up now. He is killing it, man, and the Reigns and Strowman feud probably is my favorite feud of the year so far. And Lesnar and Strowman, we'll see how it goes, but certainly that could be money, big money. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. It's just good to have Lesnar on the show, honestly. It's just good to see him on the show. And Strowman and Lesnar, it's just magic so far. You just feel as though Lesnar believes that Strowman can beat him, and that hesitation is just It's really different, and it's really unique, and it's really enjoyable to watch. And Braun Strowman is just rising to the top. He is just, like I said, he is killing it. And I really hope they stick with him, because he is the monster that I think they've been looking for. A big man that can actually work. He's, shown that his mic skills are not excellent, but a lot of big guys, you don't really need mic skills because you get it done in the ring. Like with Strowman on Raw, he comes out and he just starts beating up Lesnar. He doesn't need to talk. And I think a guy of Strowman's size should not be talking as much. I think of the early days of a Kane, for example. Kane didn't need to talk. He just backed it up in the ring by beating the shit out of everyone. To be honest, if Strowman did have a manager, let's say, for example, if Strowman had a Paul Heyman, Braun Strowman would be, wow, he would just be perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's the only thing he's really lacking in. If he had a strong manager, it would be perfect. I think some people are saying, what if, Heyman turns on Lesnar? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Lesnar and Heyman should never be opposed to each other. I think they should always be together. And I think, Lesnar wants and needs Heyman. I don't think he can survive without Paul Heyman. So I don't know who you bring in, though, for Braun Strowman, because that's the thing. There really isn't that many talkers going around. They don't really have many managers these days. They're not really grooming or bringing in managers to their developmental system, which is a real strange thing, because the manager, the art of a manager is really starting to die out. The concept of a manager is starting to die, and we're not really seeing them much anymore. It's strange, because back in the day, a lot of retired wrestlers would go into managerial roles, and they would, be in the corner of someone, and they would do that, or they'd become a commentator, or they'd have more on-screen roles, whereas nowadays we're seeing them take more of a backstage role. I think it's, not that many guys are getting themselves more involved in that way, and I think that's, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know why that is, and why people want to just, are they just content not being on screen, or does WWE not want that? I think that might be probably more of the case. I don't think WWE are really looking for that many managers. And maybe having a star manage someone is overshadowing them, maybe. Maybe that's how they feel. But I think Strowman, if he did have a good talk, if he did have a good manager, just strap a rocket onto him. Just let him go. Because I think he would be everything they've been looking for the last decade. I mean, think of all the monsters that they've been pushing over the years that have just failed. Oh, so many. I mean, I could name them, but it was just so many of them. I mean, Snitsky, for example, Mike Knox. There's so many, man. There's so many, but I think they might have finally found one that works. Because the reason why Kane and Big Show have been around for so long is because no one's been able to replace them. No one. But I think Braun Strowman is the one. I've been saying it for a while now. I'm just so in awe and so impressed with Strowman. He is, I don't know if he's my favorite. I think him and Bobby Roode are my top two picks right now, my two favorites. And with good reason. Both guys are so great. But move along a little bit now. We've got, got a lot more to cover here, not a lot much time to go. But Roman Reigns and John Cena teamed up on this show. John Cena now doing Raw instead of SmackDown, the big free agent, doing whatever the hell he wants. So he's now on Raw. They teased a Cena and Reigns match. Should that match happen? Look, I think this match is something that I would like to see. I would only have this match at WrestleMania. And I think I said a while back on the podcast, maybe a year ago or something, that I believe John Cena and Roman Reigns, I think, would be WWE's next version of The Rock and Stone Cold at WrestleMania, where they had that, those, I think they had, 3 matches at WrestleMania. I honestly believe that could happen, or may have happened. Maybe not now, with Cena getting up there and a little bit in age, I don't know. But maybe it's more of a case of The Rock and John Cena, for example, passing the torch. But Cena already had the torch, so it's not really there. Reigns kind of has the torch a little bit himself, but Cena's still the number one guy. So you could still do that transition over. But, maybe it's The Rock and Hulk Hogan, perhaps. It's kind of hard to get the perfect comparison, but I think this is a big money match, whether you love them or hate them. Two guys who get the biggest reactions every night. Personally, if they did the match and they're both baby faces, I think they'll be a bit disastrous. I still think Roman Reigns turning heel would be the best, but at this point, if you wanted to go in this direction and make Reigns your number one guy, Cena turning heel would probably be the right call, because Cena is slipping away as, you know, the number one guy. There's other guys coming through now. Cena's not there as much, so you could quite easily do the storyline with Cena turns and, you know, starts to, you know, try to regain, you know, keep your spot at the top, and gets a bit more desperate and starts to do whatever it takes type of thing. You could start to slowly turn him into that role, but the problem is Cena is just, you know, outside of wrestling, is just, you know, so beloved. He's such a good guy. It's so hard to even think about doing it. But then again, if he did do it, it'd be even more successful. But I understand why they won't do that. Whereas Roman Reigns isn't as likable as a person. I think he is more of a heel at heart. I think Reigns turning heel would be better, but obviously they believe Reigns is their number one babyface going forward. I don't see it, honestly. I think Reigns could be such a big heel because of that, of just the way he carries himself. He carries himself as a heel, but, you know, he tries to, I guess they say, yeah, it's more of him being a badass, but it's more of him being that I've no fucks given, you know, I don't really care what you think about me. That's what he kind of carries himself to be, and that's more of a heel character. So he just naturally has that heel instinct about him. So if they were going to do this match, you probably would see this as Reigns as a heel and Cena as a babyface, but would people cheer Cena? I don't know. You know, if Reigns turned heel, would all of a sudden he be cheered? I have no idea. That is one circumstance that is very hard to predict, because right now Reigns gets the biggest boos out of everyone. And to be honest, I really don't get why. I think people who say that he sucks and he's boring, you know, look, that is your matter of opinion, but I really believe Roman Reigns has earned his position right now. Yes, he's been given so much, but I don't think he's won a pay-per-view match since WrestleMania now, so he's starting to lose a little bit more, being humanized just a little bit more, but he gets a big reaction. He's doing a good job. He's having good matches. He's been involved in a lot of great things. Like I said earlier, the Reigns and Strowman matches have been excellent, really enjoyable, some of my favorite stuff of the year. And you couldn't really say, you know, you wouldn't say Reigns and Strowman are your quintessential excellent work rate type of guys that, for whatever reason, people are gravitating towards these days. So Reigns is doing his job well. He's really improved, I think, in the ring. His promos are getting a little bit better. I wouldn't say they're great yet, but they're not really having him talk too much. And when he does, he just says, you know what, it's my yard, deal with it type of thing, which is fine. It's, like I said, it's more of a heel thing as well. They're playing off that. They understand people don't like him, and they're kind of playing off that. So he is technically a babyface, but he just acts like a heel. So he kind of already is a heel in a way, because so many people already hate him, so he just plays off that. So I don't know. Look, I think Cena and Reigns would be a big money match. I would definitely not do it on any pay-per-view other than WrestleMania, because that would be stupid. The two biggest names in the company should only ever face at WrestleMania, especially when you've kept the two apart for so long. So I don't expect to see this match anytime soon, but if it did happen at WrestleMania, maybe next year, I would not be against it. I would like to see it, honestly. I really would. I would like to see it. If you love them or hate them, you could say, oh man, two guys that I hate, you know, wrestling each other. Well, so be it, but it's the two biggest names in the company, and you put them together, it should be something special. It really should be. And if it did bomb, then yeah, that's a problem. But I don't expect it to do that. All right, keep moving along now. Big Cass is gone. I think he saw his ACL. Unlucky, man. He's real unlucky. He was just starting to get going. You know, I think once he moved away from the Big Show, I thought we were going to start to see something good from Big Cass. The Cass and Enzo feud was good. It just dragged a little bit too much. They just had too many matches against each other, and Enzo just got nothing in. Just no offense in at all. But Big Cass quite clearly pissed off that he got injured. It came at the worst possible time for him. Clearly getting a big push. Where that push was going to go, I don't know. I think him as an IC champion would have been good, but with The Miz as the champ, I don't know if they would have gone with that just yet. Maybe down the line. But certainly just continuing to get him wins. Maybe he moves into a little bit of a program with another mid-card babyface. Does something there and just slowly keeps on getting more momentum before they execute on that potential title run. I think would have been the right call for him. But he started off really well. And it is a big shame. I don't know if he comes back and gets that same spot. I think he's going to be gone about 9 months. Maybe a little bit less, depending how well he can recover. And he is a big man, so it might take him that full 9 months. I think he's 6'9", so he's a big dude, so he could take a while. I think you'll find that Big Cass will probably be lost in the shuffle a little bit. I think with other guys kind of performing well, I'll look at Elias Sampson, for example. He's really starting to gain some steam, getting a good reaction. I think, plus he's got some size about him. I think Elias Sampson is one of your next stars, is one of the next stars in the WWE. He, look, Booker T hypes him up every week with good reason. I think he can really be something. I really enjoy his work in the ring. He's getting a great reaction. He plays well off the crowd. He knows how to interact with the crowd. Yes, the gimmick, him playing songs or whatever, is not necessarily main event star. Not really screaming out, put that guy on the main event of WrestleMania anytime soon. But it is a good introduction, and it is a good way to get him going. And look, the guitar thing has worked over the years. A number of guys have used it. And, he could keep doing that for a while, and we'll see how it goes. But certainly he has the size and the star power and the presence about him in the ring to back that up. So I really believe Elias could be something. Maybe he replaces Big Cass a little bit as that next heel coming through. Quite possible. Maybe they turn Elias babyface. That is a possibility as well. But I think right now, keeping him heel, it would be the right call. But big shame for Big Cass. Enzo now in the Cruiserweight division is the right call. I think that is a good decision. I think, looking at him and Neville matching up face-to-face in the ring, Enzo is bigger than Neville in terms of size, and in terms of height, I should say. So he won't be dwarfed in the Cruiserweight division. He won't look like such a joke in the Cruiserweight division like he does, because just having him against Big Cass is just such a bad matchup. It's not a Rey Mysterio and Big Show thing where, you could even for a second believe that, Enzo could take down Big Cass. You just can't. Rey Mysterio, they kind of had him be that underdog that can sometimes pull off that big victory that, you could probably believe him winning. You don't have to try and, turn a blind eye a little bit, but you could, believe him beating and taking down Big Show. Enzo, no, you can believe him taking down anybody that's bigger than him. So, having him in the Cruiserweight division is the right call. I don't think he's not a great in-ring worker, so I think he's going to struggle to keep up with those guys. But just having, that ability to get on the mic and get a reaction from the people. Yes, his reactions are really starting to dwindle. I think people are starting to get a little bit sick of this feud and what they're doing here. So having him move on to something different, I think, is a very good decision. Did they plan this all along? I don't know. But I guess now with Big Cass gone down, they've got no choice. This is, that feud is done. It's time to move him on, and him against Neville, I think, is something to look forward to. I'll keep moving along quickly here. Hardy's, Ambrose, and Rollins. I think that is a feud that I would love to see a little bit more down the line. Could be a really classic feud. Interesting they gave it away on Raw, but a good match between the two. And last thing on Raw, the Beach Balls. I want to address this a little bit here. The Beach Balls and the Mexican Waves during wrestling shows. Does it have a place in wrestling? Should we see it in wrestling? My initial thoughts are no. Look, I am all for Beach Balls and the Mexican Wave. I attend, a lot of you guys probably don't really know much about the sport, but cricket is my favourite sport. I attend cricket events a couple times a year, and beach balls are heavily seen throughout a cricket event. Think of a big outdoor stadium, and 60,000 people in a stadium, a big oval, and people get beach balls out and they throw them around and they all drinking beer and having a good time. It doesn't take away from what you're watching, because cricket is a slower event, whereas wrestling is go, go, go in the ring, in the actions in the ring, look at the match, react to the match. Whereas cricket, you're not intently focused all the time on what you're watching. You are, you can be on your phone, you're not missing too much. And some people like to, watch all the time. Like I personally would, I like to watch as much as I can. But, there are times where you're chatting away with the person sitting next to you, and it's more of a relaxed environment. More of a relaxed environment, you're having a few drinks with your mates and watching the show, watching the game. Whereas wrestling is an event, it is a show, and you should be focused on what's happening in the show. And beach balls and the Mexican wave really does not have a place in it. It's just such an odd thing to see. It doesn't really mix well. And when the whole crowd is so busy looking around, where's the beach ball, and they want to hit the beach ball, alright, it's our turn to do the Mexican wave, instead of focusing on what's happening in the ring, it just takes away from the show. And if you're watching at home, it's really distracting as well to try and focus on what's happening in the ring. So, yes, the Mexican wave and beach balls is a really fun thing to do, but not in this context. I think it doesn't have a place in wrestling, and I'm very disappointed to see it plague the SummerSlam weekend so much. You could argue, they only did it because they didn't like what was happening in the ring, but they had beach balls out during Ambrose and Rollins versus Cesaro and Sheamus, which was a match that was clearly going to be good. So, and thank God Cesaro tore that thing up. So, I think that's a little bit irrelevant. I think it's just a case of the crowd just trying to hijack the show a little bit, trying to be the show. That's becoming more of a common trend in wrestling, and I don't like it at all. It's a shame. So, personally, it's a big no from me for the beach balls, and I hope we really don't see it anymore. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to see Mexican wave. I don't want to see beach balls. Yeah, they do it the night after WrestleMania to be cute. It's not cute. It's kind of just annoying, and it really takes away from the show. And like I said, it has a place elsewhere, but wrestling, no. Moving along to SmackDown this week, and you guys know that I'm happy about this one. Bobby Roode is on SmackDown. Thank God. Little bit of a, I thought when I saw Aiden English come out, I thought, okay, maybe Roode's coming out. Is it going to happen? And his music, hit, and I think the crowd were like, whoa, wait a second, oh shit, you're Bobby Roode. They kind of didn't know what to do when they first came out, I think, because, the reaction wasn't huge when his music first hit, but once they saw him come out, boom, glorious, they all, sung along. Very successful debut in the end, but quite clearly acting like a babyface instead of a heel. Very possible that Bobby Roode is a babyface for the week. They do this sometimes where, someone who's popular that comes in, quite clearly he'll get cheered and the people are going to go along with it. Then, he gets an easy win. Then in the next few weeks they transition him into that heel character. That's possible. But I don't know. I've been hearing things and reading things that maybe they're going to stick with him as a babyface. I read something today that Bobby Roode could be a top babyface replacement for John Cena. And I don't know if that's the right call. I personally believe Bobby Roode is a better heel. Yes, I would love to see Bobby Roode as a babyface. I think that could work, definitely, with a glorious character. I think people could really get behind it, but quite clearly it's more intended to be a heel character. And the other thing as well is that SmackDown is pretty good right now on babyfaces. AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Nakamura. So they're pretty good for babyfaces. I don't know, Sami Zayn's there as well. I don't think they necessarily need a top-level babyface to come in. I think they need a top-level heel. Because you got Jinder, and I think the bubble's about to burst on that. I don't know how much longer that's going to go on for. You got Rusev is struggling. Baron Corbin's now getting punished by the looks of it and moving down the card. And you got Kevin Owens, yeah. So you got a couple there, but I think Bobby Roode would probably find more success as a heel. I don't know. I think that would be a better call. But if they're going to go with the babyface, I think it can definitely be successful. Absolutely. Bobby Roode has the popularity that to make it work. And look, Bobby Roode, we'll talk more about it later when he's, we get to the NXT Takeover recap, but tremendous shape. He is, people say, people are a bit indifferent on his ring work. Some people like it, some people will hate it. It's not your 2017 wrestling style that a lot of people get accustomed to, where, diving through the ropes, diving off the top rope, doing flips, go 100% all the time. He does kind of, methodically take down his opponents. He's got good ring psychology. He gets it. He just gets a reaction. He just knows to pinpoint his spots. I just think he, to me, is the type of wrestler I like to watch, and he has that size and believability about him. He's in great shape right now. He may be 40, and that's why I think if you're going to execute on him, you got to just do it now. Whilst he's still, he's on the tail end. He's probably not in his prime anymore, but he's still performing very well, and I still think he could be a major asset for them. So, to me personally, I think Bobby Roode probably will be a world champion. I think this time next year, Bobby Roode would have had the championship around his waist. Why not? Because this guy is everything they probably see in a champion. To me, he has the look of a champion. He can talk. Not a lot of guys can talk. Bobby Roode can talk. So that sets him sets him above a lot of guys. Like I said, has that look about him as well. And he is a veteran. He's been around a long time. He's taken on every name you want to think of now, except for really a lot of the WWE guys. He's starting to get through them now. He knows what he's doing. He is a great name to have in that spot, and you could give him a 6-month run with the belt, and he will not let you down. And I think you could say, he doesn't deserve the championship yet, but there's a lot of guys that don't deserve what they get. And Bobby Roode has been in this business a long time, a lot of success. He was a champion in TNA, and he was a damn good one. Probably one of their only better ones they've had in a while. And he was damn good champion in NXT, despite not having a lot of guys to work with. Let's be honest, NXT was pretty light when Bobby Roode was there, but he did the best with the opponents that he had. And now he's got a few opponents he can deal with on SmackDown. I feel like, yes, it's a little bit light in the heel side of things. They probably should put him as a heel, and they give him Nakamura. There's that match. You give him Randy Orton. That would be a good one. I'd be excited to see that one. And, give him Sami Zayn. I think Sami Zayn would probably be the perfect guy for Bobby Roode to start off with, and let Roode beat Sami Zayn and go from there. And look, I think it could really work. Maybe they give Dolph Ziggler to Bobby Roode straight up. I think Ziggler's that guy. So they could do that, maybe. But quite honestly, I would love to see Bobby Roode as world champion, and I think he should be in the world championship mix right from the get-go. Don't waste him. Just put him right there, because I think people can believe it. I think he's a big enough name now. He's respected enough, and it would take him a couple months, and they would legitimize him as a main eventer pretty easily on SmackDown. So if they felt as though Baron Corbin was the next big thing in there, forget about Corbin. Give that to Bobby Roode, and he will not let you down. It might not be for the next 10 years, but you can get a couple of really good years out of him. And look, he's only 40. I think you could, most guys can go to 45. So Roode may have at least 3 really good years left in the tank. So why not capitalize now? I think WWE needs just to, don't necessarily think about the 10 years. Think about 3 years. Where are we going to be in 3 years' time? Because the things can be very different. And if you've got someone who's doing well, who's popular, getting reaction, you got to use that. You have to use that. So, for me personally, yes, put Bobby Roode at the top. Shelton Benjamin, he's back as well. He's coming back to be Chad Gable's tag partner. I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing. I think there's a potential of a heel turn there. Shelton Benjamin turning on Chad Gable, doesn't want to be his partner, doesn't want to be, the replacement for Jason Jordan, wants to be his own guy, wants to come back and be a champion again, wants to right the wrongs that happened in his first stint, wants to be a world champion after everyone's saying that he could have been a world champion at some point. He wants to come back and finally do win the one title that eluded him back in the day. I think if he went with that storyline, it would work, and that would kind of really put Chad Gable on the map as well, to give him that big feud to kick off his singles career with Shelton Benjamin. But yeah, put the two guys as a team for the next couple months, sure. Maybe they win the belts. have a short little run, and then they do something with a turn there. But great to see him back. I want to see what kind of condition he's in. I haven't seen a match of his in a long time. I haven't really sought out a lot of things. I think he obviously spent a lot of time in Japan. I don't really watch Japanese wrestling, so I haven't really seen much from him. So I'm excited to see what he can offer and how he shapes up right now, what type of look he's got, what kind of shape he's in. So we'll see next week. And I think, honestly, this is a great thing for Shelton, and hopefully he can finish strong. Speaking of another guy who's back, Dolph Ziggler is back again. Same old thing, complaining. And look, I don't know, man. Ziggler's doing nothing. I personally don't even know why he's back. I would have kept him off TV for a little longer. Just kept him away a little longer and let the people start to forget about him and want to see him come back. I think, sometimes, not being seen for a while is a good thing. I think Ziggler could have used that a little bit longer. What do you do with him? He's a heel, but you've got Rusev that I would rather see get pushed. They've got Jinder they're working on. Baron Corbin, I don't know if they're working on, who knows. They've got Kevin Owens, so he's not going to be the world title picture. He's well behind there. Mid-card, yeah, he could do an AJ Styles feud, sure. And look, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I think that would be fine. Certainly right now, AJ's looking for a new opponent. If it's not Corbin, it could be Ziggler. So, yeah, that's a possibility. Have we seen AJ and Ziggler? I think feels like we may have. I don't know. But, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what they do with Ziggler. That's the thing. There's not much of an opportunity there for him. Last but not least, AJ and Owens seems to be finally over. Baron Corbin doing the special guest duty. Like I said earlier on, not much going on there for Corbin. But yeah, it seems to be finally over. They're done with it. And thank God. I think it's played its course. It's been a good feud. Too many matches against each other. Well, I don't know how many we have. 7, 8 TV matches. It's a lot. But I don't think we ever really got that one classic match that we were looking for. I'm sure WWE were hoping that they were going to do that and deliver that. I thought they were really hoping that these two would have so many great matches time and time again. And they had good matches, but nothing that I would ever be able to recall years from now. I don't think they ever had a classic match that people will remember forever. But look. It was a good feud. And they kept things interesting in the US Championship scene for a while there. But that's SmackDown. And before we get going, quickly, I want to just run through NXT Takeover. Just quickly, last few things. We're going to probably go a little bit over time this week, and that's to be expected. A lot of things went down. NXT Takeover, I thought was really good. Really enjoyed it. Look, the thing I like about NXT Takeover and NXT in general is just the presentation. They just do it so much better. Kicking off the show with a band performance is a cool way to do it, and I think it just kind of adds the element of excitement about it. I wasn't too crazy about the performance itself. I thought they were okay, but it was a nice different presentation, different way to go about it. So just NXT in general just does a lot of things right, and it's really crazy that they don't adapt these same methods on the main roster. They just know how to really make their talents feel special and feel like they're stars, even though they're not really stars yet. They're kind of developmental guys and relying on independent names. But they've take these guys and they just present them in such a way that you just feel like they're stars, even though they don't necessarily have that following yet. As we said earlier, Andrade versus Gargano was excellent. Great way to open the show. Set any new tag team champions? Does this mean Authors of Pain to the main roster? It may possibly be the case. I don't think they're ready for the main roster yet. I probably wouldn't do it. I think I'd keep them down there for a little bit longer. But good match. Tami and Aleister Black. Another good match there. I enjoyed that. The question kind of is, who has the bigger future? Hideo Itami or Aleister Black? Now that's an interesting one. Right now I'd probably say Aleister Black. I think Aleister Black is a much cooler version of a Baron Corbin with a similar kind of look, but obviously less size. That's the only thing kind of hurting him. But has a cool presentation, cool theme music. that, coming up the stoic look, not saying much, and then the entrance is cool. They're just presenting really well. Hideo Itami's just a guy full of injuries and so much bad luck that I don't know if they're ever going to really have the faith in him again to give him that spot. He would have been on the main roster a year or two ago, easily by now, but just injuries are holding him back, and I don't know if will he ever make the main roster? Surely. If he can stay healthy until after WrestleMania, surely he makes it then. But then again, what do they do with him? Do they see him as a star? I don't know. I don't know if I personally see him as a main event guy, which is not a bad thing. I think he definitely could be a strong upper mid-card competitor and have a lot of good matches with some of those guys, definitely. But I certainly don't see him as a champion right now. And they haven't even put the belt on him down in NXT, so I don't think they even know or even are confident that he can do that in NXT. Asuka retains the championship, but as we now know, she's been injured and she's vacated the championship. And it seems as though she's headed to the main roster. I think Asuka will go to SmackDown, and I think if she does go to the main roster, that's where she needs to go. You look at Raw, you've got Nia Jax, you've got Alexa Bliss. Quite clearly, if you had to compare the two, Asuka and Nia Jax, Asuka's obviously been booked better, but they have two similar styles of characters, two dominant, aggressive characters, and I think mixing them on the same brand wouldn't work. SmackDown lacks on the heel side of things. They've got Natalya, who I think has become champion out of a necessity. Has she earned it? Yeah, I think she has. She's had a good year. The stuff she did with Nikki Bella, and that was good. I enjoyed that. And the Naomi stuff's been okay. She's had a good year, and she does deserve a championship run again. I think it's been too long. I think she should have had at least a few in between, now and since her last one. So she definitely deserves the belt. But I think you could easily insert Asuka there, and you could have her take over that spot and become the number one heel on SmackDown. You got Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Naomi right from the get-go to come up against, and I think that would be really, really good and a good way to put her on the map, and with the potential to go over to Raw later on, definitely. But look, you could even do something where she's a free agent. She could be that big of a star in the women's division where the GMs can't lock her down to a deal. The GMs can't decide on a deal. Like, she doesn't pick one. Maybe she do a free agent thing there. I mean, if John Cena can do it, maybe you can do it with a few other people. I don't know. You just leave Asuka open to do whatever. It's a big call, but I think if I had to pick a home, definitely SmackDown would be the best one for her. But then I guess you could say, well, SmackDown's getting all the new people. That's because they probably need it. That's because SmackDown's a little bit boring. It's pretty boring. The people they've got going there aren't really doing that great. Injecting some life into it helps. And Bobby Roode, for example, going there, Benjamin going there, and Asuka would really do the show a lot of big favors. And finally, Drew McIntyre, the new NXT champion. I think that was a really good decision as well. Look, if Bobby Roode's going to move from NXT, Drew McIntyre could be the guy to get NXT to the next level and keep going in the right direction. And I've got to say, Drew McIntyre, he just has a really good look about him now. That rugged up look that he's got with the beard and the big chest hair, just kind of looks like a manly guy. Plus the size about him, he's bulked up, he's a big dude now. He could be a scary guy, man. He could be a really legitimate main event player on the main roster. I think he could have the potential now to be everything they probably thought about him all those years ago. He's still young, still very young. And I wasn't too crazy about him all those years ago. I really didn't see much in him. I just couldn't see that potential. But he's gone away. He's improved. He's changed his look, changed his gimmick. It's worked. And that's a real good example of sometimes getting away from the WWE system, working other promotions is a clear way to a clear example of why that is a benefit for some guys. And look at a Cody Rhodes is doing that right now. I think in a few years' time, we're going to look at that and say that was the best thing for Cody Rhodes' career. Not all the time is that the case. I mean, look at a Jack Swagger. He's gone from WWE. Is he doing anything right now? Last time I saw him, he was wrestling in a t-shirt and he's just looking crap. He's looking like crap, not doing too much. So not always the case where they get released or they ask for release or whatever, and they move along and do great things, but sometimes it happens, which is why I think if we had a good secondary promotion in the US, why wrestling would benefit so much more. And yeah, Drew McIntyre spent some time in TNA and did a good job there, and obviously worked a lot of the UK scene as well and did a good job there. So he's gained a lot more experience and really benefit from that, and I think he will be a great champ in NXT, and I would have him hold the belt for a while there. But certainly NXT is starting to pick up. Aleister Black there, Hatami's healthy, Andrade looked good, Gargano as a singles has potential there, and of course now the new man, Adam Cole. He's now a part of NXT, debuting, attacking Drew McIntyre afterwards, clearly setting up for a feud there, so good way to go about that. Look, Adam Cole, I haven't really seen much about him. A lot of people, love the guy. A lot of people think he's, potentially be a big star. We'll have to wait and see. I'll have to check him out. I haven't really looked into him too much. Some guys, you hear so much about, hear so much hype where it's almost too much, and it's almost kind of off-putting to kind of check out. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Kenny Omega, for example, you just hear so much about the guy. It's like, all right, I get it, fair enough, whatever. But, there's no real interest for me to go out and check him out, because I've got it in my head that he's just, the greatest thing in the world. If I look at him, I'm never going to be, as impressed as, I'm never going to think that right from the get-go. So I kind of, steer clear of it, wait till he gets the big dance, and we'll see how he goes in NXT. So Adam Cole, I think, could be good. I mean, he has the Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, I think, Red Dragon, that tag team with him, forming a bit of a stable. The problem with the Red Dragon team is that, Kyle O'Reilly just looks like, a regular dude. He does not look threatening or menacing at all. But apart from that, them attacking the teams is cool. So we'll see how that goes. Potential there, and that's something to be looking forward to in NXT. And despite losing Bobby Roode and probably losing Asuka, it's a good thing. And I forgot to mention, even though Asuka beat Ember Moon, I tell you what, that was Ember Moon won that match even though she lost. That was a clear example of someone almost beating a massive name and just getting put over despite losing. It's a rare thing in wrestling, but it can happen. You can lose and you can win at the same time, and that's a clear example for Ember Moon. She lost, but the crowd gained respect for her. She had a great performance. She put on, got so close, and now I think she could be the next NXT Women's Champion and carry the belt for a while there. And to be honest, I think there's a lot of women in NXT that, probably deserve to be in the championship mix and maybe get a run with the belt. So having Asuka not the champion, I think, could be a good thing for some of those women to get that spotlight and that showcase. But certainly she was a great champ, did a great thing with the belt. And it's a shame to see her undefeated streak and her, her reign as NXT champion end like that. She's still undefeated, but I would hate for her to come in and lose at WrestleMania right from the get-go, or something like that. Lose quickly on the main roster. Wouldn't that be a shame? She just loses to Charlotte, first pay-per-view or something stupid like that. It wouldn't surprise me. Last couple of things before we get into our questions. Eli Drake, new Global Force Wrestling champion. They had a bit of a Royal Rumble style gauntlet matchup. I thought it was cool. John Morrison, now known as Johnny Impact, he's now on the brand too, which is really good for them. Jim Cornette's now in Global Force again, which is great. Big fan of Jim Cornette, and I loved his promo. I thought it was awesome. He still got it, can still talk, and still cut a promo really well. So that was a nice surprise. But yeah, Eli Drake, him as champion, I haven't really seen too much of Eli Drake. I'm starting to hear some good things about him though. But what I will say is, despite, they had a bit of a catastrophe with Del Rio, Lashley probably would have been the better champion because he has that name, but he's been champion quite a lot in the company. I think it's worth a shot and worth a chance. I think John Morrison or Johnny Impact would be an excellent champion as well. I would love to see him get the belt. But it's worth a shot. We'll see how Eli Drake goes. And if it is successful, then they can certainly develop themselves another name. And I think that that's exactly what GFW should be focusing on, trying to get another couple names in and just starting to build their main event scene. If Eli Drake is successful, then they certainly can do that. But that's all we have time for in terms of our main discussion. We do have a few questions I want to get into before we get going, so let's get into them right now. Okay, so the first question here coming from Justin Payton. How do you think the transition from WWE 2K17 to 2K18 Universe Mode will be, since your roster won't be complete most likely? Yeah, look, Justin, it's always a real tough challenge when we change from game to game. It is really annoying most of the time, certainly for NXT, because a lot of the NXT guys are generally not in the game. For whatever reason, they don't seem to really stack the NXT roster much. I think it's more because of, they would rather spend more time and money on the bigger names rather than lesser known guys. But then again, sometimes they put in some names you wouldn't really expect, or some legends that don't really have a big name value. So you never know. It's whoever they can really get. But certainly with the NXT roster, it's always a major challenge because you lose half your NXT roster. I don't know if I will have to put NXT on hold again, like we did last year with 2K17. We waited about 3 months until we brought back NXT, so we kind of put NXT in a bit of a hiatus. And I feel as though we haven't really kind of kicked into gear with NXT just yet either. I think there's still so much I wanted to get done on NXT before we kind of move away from it. So it would be really disappointing to have to put NXT on hold. But if we did continue NXT, we'd have to, either A, hope that we get a lot of NXT superstars in the game, or B, try and download a lot of crappy created wrestlers that, because the first few weeks are generally pretty crap. So maybe we do a month or two without NXT and go from there, but it generally is pretty hard. Most of the time, it does work out pretty okay, or we do make changes and we prepare, but certainly NXT is very difficult to transition into. This one is from Roy the Boy. Do you think Lesnar being out for a portion of the match at SummerSlam confirms that he can't go on the ring anymore? No, I don't think that really confirms it. I just feel as though that's the direction that they took. I think it was a way to, keep Lesnar out for a while, because if Lesnar's involved, he has to be the main focus. I think it was a way just to showcase the other guys for a while and give Braun Strowman that big feel, that big moment, and that a way to kind of hype up the next pay-per-view and as a tease to what is to come. I still think Lesnar can go on the ring. I don't know if he could put on a 25-minute classic at this point. I don't know. But I still think he can go. But, I get how you could see that, and I get how you probably could, probably think that. But we'll have to wait and probably see. I mean, it would be a bit more of a telling sign if he does have another 5-10 minute match with Braun Strowman. I think that's probably how it's going to play out, because I don't really see a 20-minute match between those two monsters going at it. So it probably will be another 10-minute match. But, if he has a WrestleMania with Roman Reigns, for example, a 10-minute match, that's more of a telling sign. But I think it was just more of a way to showcase some of the other guys in the match and have that big moment for Strowman. This one's from Tanzan Ahmed. So do you think it is officially okay to call Seth Rollins a shape-shifting Power Ranger? I mean, he was a White Ranger once, now he's a Red Ranger. Maybe next year he will be a Blue Ranger. What do you think? Yeah, look, he goes a bit crazy with the attires. I think it is a bit of a Power Ranger thing, isn't it? So, look, the red was a little bit odd, but I'm not against him switching it up. I mean, a blue I think would actually work pretty well. I think that would look pretty good on him. But, red was a little bit odd. Certainly the white was probably the worst one. But, look, he's switching it up. He's having fun with it. So, as long as he doesn't go pink or purple or green. Can he do green? I don't know. But, so he's trying a few different colours. But I don't think it'll be his, every week attire. But I think it'll just be for a bit of a special occasion. From Ryan Fleming. Do you think it's really weird how Corey Graves praises Cass and insults Enzo despite revealing Cass as Enzo's attacker? Doesn't really make any sense. I think it's more of a way, because Enzo's obviously got that backstage heat, I think it's a way for people backstage to kind of express their feelings towards Enzo. They do it through Corey Graves. And yes, it doesn't make sense because a lot of things in WWE doesn't make sense. So, another one from Roy the Boy. This is a good one. Do you think if Baron Corbin gets in shape, in the best shape of his life, like a Jinder Mahal, so really bulks up, would he get pushed to the moon? Absolutely. Yes. Baron Corbin, when he took his t-shirt off at SummerSlam, looked awful. It was keep the shirt on. I don't know what's the deal. He has an opportunity of a lifetime. He's making good money. He is clearly liked. Well, clearly, they did like him. They were going to push him, and they were going to give him that main event spot. Is he struggling, or does he just refuse to try and get in good shape? Because if he got in good shape, what's stopping him? There's no one else stopping him. I personally still think if he got in good shape, it'd still suck. But WWE would love the guy. Quite clearly, Jinder Mahal is getting pushed. Well, yes, he's Indian. Well, from Canada, but he's obviously Indian, and he's in terrific shape. So shape and the size and your look and your presence matters a hell of a lot. And the only reason really why Baron Corbin's getting his push is because he's 6'5". If he was 6'5" and looked in as good a shape as Braun Strowman, then Baron Corbin probably would not have lost Money in the Bank. He'd probably be the champion right now. That's goes to show. But quite clearly, Baron Corbin's not working out or not trying. And when you've got someone like Triple H who works as much as he does and continues to keep himself in good shape, yeah, he's probably, on whatever. And, Vince McMahon still, works out hard. Those types of guys, they look at someone like Baron Corbin and I'm sure they look down on him and say, well, why are you not doing it? We can do it. We know how difficult it is, but you got to do what you got to do. And I think they really look at the body as, really critique that, and really is a major factor in who they do push and who they don't push. Triple H, yeah, he can appreciate the smaller guy as well, but certainly Vince would like to see someone in better shape. So Baron Corbin, definitely needs to work on that. Cameron Fox, did you hear the rumor about Undertaker potentially going to be at SummerSlam? Yeah, I heard he was in town. Not for a second did I ever believe he was going to show up. They were cheering him and chanting him. I think The Undertaker's done. I mean, if you bring him back after what did they do at WrestleMania, what the hell? They keep saying he's been retired by Roman Reigns. Yes, there is always a potential to bring him back. But it was a perfect send-off. It really was. They had such a long period of time after WrestleMania. They gave so much time for him. It was the perfect way to send him off. I don't think there's any real need to bring him back. I think he's done. And as much as I love The Undertaker, his match at WrestleMania was embarrassing, and I think it's time to move on from it. I think it's time just for him to walk away. So I don't think he'll be back. This one's from Alex Small. Do you think podcasts like Talk is Jericho kill kayfabe and hurt the legitimacy of characters? For example, we are supposed to believe that Jinder's from India, but on the podcast we hear him talk about growing up in Canada. Well, you're not wrong. Yeah, podcasts do hurt kayfabe, but kayfabe's been dead long before podcasts came along. I think podcasts, they are a good thing because if you are a fan of someone, you get to learn more about that person, who they really are, and that helps you connect with that person on a personal level. And quite often I do listen to, Talk is Jericho interviews. I haven't done it for a while actually, but I will listen to interviews. And I learn things about people that I've never knew. I listened to Jinder Mahal's interview, and I thought he spoke well, and I thought he was good, and I learned more about him. Still don't like his character, but I could appreciate his rise, and I thought he sounded pretty humble and really respectful, and he was really grateful for the position that he's in. So when you hear that, you go, okay, all right, I respect that. That's good. I'm happy for him. So it does work in a couple of different ways. Yes. You ruin kayfabe, but that's already been dead. But you do get to learn more about the wrestlers, and you do get to appreciate more about them, for better or worse. Sometimes it's worse if you're Roman Reigns, who comes off more like a dick on a podcast, for example. John Moynihan, his question is, which current NXT/main roster superstars do you not see going into WWE 2K18. Okay, so I don't think Austin Aries will be in there, for example. He just recently left. Epico and Primo, I don't think they'll be in there. For NXT, I don't see any of the UK guys being there. I think they're going to be a DLC pack. I think that's my prediction. They'll do a UK DLC pack. Well, you know, Adam Cole won't be in there, but Adam Cole is a chance to be DLC. Generally, DLC is a cutoff by SummerSlam, so I think Adam Cole will be DLC. Anyone after SummerSlam is very unlikely to get DLC because they kind of develop all the characters by, you know, they decide who they want to be on the roster by about May, June, and then any new additions by around SummerSlam, they kind of put in as DLC. But anything after that, they kind of just say, no, we're not doing that. We'll save it to the next game. So Adam Cole's a chance to be DLC, and I probably will be. I'd probably say Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish will be DLC with him. And it's possible Drew McIntyre might not even be in the game. It's possible he might be DLC too. So there's a few names that might not be in it, but potentially DLC. And I think a lot of the lesser-known NXT guys probably won't make the cut again, which is a shame. All right, last question coming in from John Monahan. Who do you think from NXT could help the Cruiserweight division? And looking at Johnny Gargano, I think he'd be a real good acquisition, you know, to Master Champ when he comes back. I don't know how big Hideo Itami is. I'd say he is a Cruiserweight. You probably could say that's a bit of a waste for him and he's above and better than the Cruiserweight division, which is fair. I think Roderick Strong would be good for the Cruiserweights. I think Andrade is a Cruiserweight. I don't know. Is he kind of sizable guy? He might be bigger than a Cruiserweight, to be honest. So maybe not. But those definitely some guys in NXT could really come in and shake up the Cruiserweight division. And that's the thing. As we said a long time ago on the podcast, we've been saying it for ages, the Cruiserweights all came in as brand new characters from the independents, but they all came in without really doing NXT and having time for people to really get invested in the characters. And the main roster doesn't do a really good job in allowing you to get invested in those characters. So they were doomed to fail from the get-go. But if you got someone from NXT, you bring them out to the main roster and you put them in the Cruiserweight division, and they've had a year or two in NXT, people started to learn what they were about, seen their matches and start to like the character, there's a much better chance they can succeed because of that. So it may not be as much of a death sentence if they do bring in some of these guys from NXT and they put them in that role, because they've had that time in NXT, they've had that time to get exposure and for people to start to get into their characters. So that could be the saving grace for 205 Live and the Cruiserweight division going forward. And to be honest, I think that's what they need to do. Probably inject a bit of life into the Cruiserweight division. Pick a few guys, put them in there, and shake it up a bit. That's all we have time for this extended edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. Maybe Let's Talk Fridays. But thank you very much for listening in again, ladies and gentlemen. Big weekend of wrestling. Awesome weekend of wrestling. Really enjoyed it. I love these weekends. I love so much wrestling in one weekend. It's a lot to get through, but it's always really fun to watch. So I hope you enjoy this extended edition. Again, apologies for the delay in getting it out. Next week, hopefully, we'll be back on our regular schedule. We might even be doing some streams over the weekend. I know I haven't done many, but we might be doing that, so keep an eye out for that as well. More Universe Mario TW stuff as well coming out throughout the week, so keep an eye out for that as well. So thank you very much for listening in, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your viewership as always. I really appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week.